will be what we're up to. Okay. Okay. Kumlen Ablak Gemara, Mitzvah Shabbos Chazak Parshas Vayechi. We are up to Daf Hey on the very bottom of the page. So the last line on Daf Hey with base. Amar Rabbi Yechon said, "Ki avin tell you when I was very young, sheep. Amina Mills, I said something. The sheilna l'savia. I said something that was asked by older people, and obviously we had a debate. It turned out to be that I was right. We had a pasuk yesterday where it says the fortified cities, and he named a number of cities: at Hamas, Rakas, and Kinnoris or Kinneris. So which cities are these? We're not familiar names. So I told them Hamas zu Tveria. Hamas, that is Tveria. The Loma Nikrishma Hamas. Why would you refer to it as Hamas? Al Shum Chame Tveria, because the hot springs of Tveria. That's Cham, the word hot. Rakas zu Tzipori. Rakas is the city of Tzipori, which is on the hills. The Loma Nikrishma Rakas. So why are we nicknaming it Rakas? We should the medallia because it's lifted. Kiraksa, it's elevated. Kiraksa denaro, like the sand on the beach, which is elevated above the water level. These are all nicknames, euphemisms. Kineres ugenoisa. Kineres, that is the city of Genosar. But Loma Nikrishma Kineres. Why refer to as Kineres? The Mesika Pede, because the fruits are so sweet. Kikola the kindred, like the sounds of music from a harp, and therefore we call it Kineres. That's what Rabbi Yechon said. Amar Rabbi says, Rabbi, we totally disagree with you. Miyika Lamanda Amar, is there an opinion that Rakas lav Tveria? Surely Rakas is Tveria. And I'll give now 3 examples that the Mashal gives. One is somebody who passed away in Babel. One is somebody who passed away in Babel and was buried in Tveria. And one is somebody who moved to Tveria while they were alive. In all 3 cases, the people of Tveria, the eulogizers, when they referred to Tveria, they called it Rakas. So in case number 1, well, if somebody passed away in Babel, Hossam over there in Tveria, this is what they used to say. They would say, Godel hu b'shashach. This person was raised in Shashach. Shashach is sort of a lumdish way of saying Babel, because one of the ways of changing letters in the Aleph base is you start with the Aleph base and you work your way backwards. The Aleph becomes a Taf, a base becomes a Shin. So Shin is base, and Chaf is a Lamed, becomes Bavel. So he said this person was raised in Shashach and Bavel, but his name extends all the way to Rakas, which is Tveria. So referred to Tveria as Rakas. Case number 2. They brought somebody who passed away in Babel, they brought him to Tveria to be buried. And Tveria was the place where the Sanhedrin was. This is what David said. Those who love Jews, as Rashi says. Yeshrei Rakas, the dwellers of Rakas. The Kiblu Haroige Oimik. Go ahead and let's accept, he said to the people of Rakas, which is Tveria, let's go accept all those who died in the Oimik, in the valley, which is Babel. Why we call the people who died in Babel Haroige, which usually means people who were killed, I'm not sure. Case number 3. Ki noch nafshe de Rab Zeda. Rab Zeda was born and raised in Babel. He then fasted 100 fast days, as the Gemara Bava says, and he moved to Yisrael. And then he passed away in Tveria, Pasach le'ahu savdona. And the eulogizer said, Eretz shina harav, the land of Babel conceived and gave birth to him. But Eretz Tzavi, the land of desire, or Eretz Tzvi, the land of the deer, Gidla Shao Shashah, raised this, this treasure. Oinola Amra Rakas, woe is us as Rakas, ki of the Klechem dos, we lost the beautiful treasure. Ella Amra Rabba says Rabba, I disagree. Hamas is not Tveria. Hamas zu Chamegora, a place called Chamegora. You know what Rakas? That's Tveria. Rakas is Tveria, not Tzipori. Rakas is Tveria. Kinoidis, and that I agree with you, is Genesar. Rakas. Why would you refer to Tveria as Rakas? Because even those who are empty from mitzvahs are still full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. So therefore, Rakas means empty. And it tells you what, that the nevertheless are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. That's why they called it Rakas. Very difficult to understand why the city of Tveria was singled out to be called Rakas, when the Gemara Chagiga says, that every Jew, even Rishoyim, are Malayim mitzvahs karibim, are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. So why single out Tveria, that the people there are filled with pomegranate, every Jew, anywhere where they live. I'm not sure. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar says, Rakashma. It's all the way around. The real name of Tveria is Rakas. So why do we refer to it as Tveria? Well, we know historically it's called Tveria because King Tiberius was the one who built the city. But the Yidden didn't want to call it Tveria because of King Tiberius. So we need to give our own reason. Why is it called Tveria? It's the very epicenter of Eretz Yisrael. Indeed, Taisus Rosh Hashanah says that Yerushalayim is the epicenter of Eretz Yisrael. I guess it depends. If you look at a lot part of Eretz Yisrael, then Yerushalayim is, I guess, much more the center. If you say past Beersheba is no longer Eretz Yisrael, then further up north is the center, and that would be Tveria. Rabbah says Rakashma. In fact, the name is Rakas. You know why it's called Shalom Shikar? You know why it's called Tveria? Beautiful vista, beautiful landscape, as Taisa says, and have beautiful gardens and orchards growing there. That's Tveria. Toiv Ria, good view. Amazay, the Kitron is Tzipoide. Tzipoide actually is not called Raka. Tzipoide is called Kitron. Why called Tzipoide? She Sheves Brajaka Tzipor. It sits on top of the mountain like a bird. The Kitron Tzipoide, are you telling me that Kitron is a bird? But sorry, Kitron is Tzipoide, but Kitron Bechelkish is Zvulun. The Kitron is in the section of Zvulun. Now the problem with what's wrong, and we're going to see, Zvulun complained about Kitron. If Kitron is Tzipoide is a beautiful city. Says the Gemara, see what it says, Zvulun did not evict. What happened was when they proportioned Israel to all the different Shvatim, their duty was to evict the local people and chase them away. Zvulun did not. They decided instead to charge them taxes. They levied upon them hefty taxes and they let them stay there. So we know that Kitron belongs in the Zvulun's portion. The Zvulun is Zvulun was upset with what he received. It says Zvulun, Zvulun was a nation that was ashamed, and Avshalom was ready to die. Matam, why were they upset? Naphtali received the fields. Lachai, to my brethren, the Satalem Sodas, Akramian fields and vineyards, and what did you give me? Mountains and hills. Lachai, to my brothers, the Satalehem Aratzes, to my brothers, you gave Aratzes, you gave them land. But Lina Sata Yaman Hadas, and me, you gave seas and rivers. You didn't give me enough land. Amalai Hashem, to console him, said, Kulan tzrichin lecha aidei chlazim. Business-wise, it's hard to understand because Zvulun, as it says in this week's parsha, that Zvulun was l'chayf yamim mishkan. He lived by the beaches because he was a sailor and he traveled a lot. So why is he complaining that he received oceans and seas? That's where his business was. He was a traveling salespeople. But anyway, Hashem said to him, "You are going to make a lot of money because the chilazon, which is the snail, the way Rashi learns here, amphibious snails in the water in the clouds of the mountain, you're going to get that dye for the tchelis. You make a lot of money from that. So therefore, don't complain." You know, it says, "Amim ha'yikoru," that the nations on the mountain will call out, "V'sfeinei tmunei chayil," and those are hidden in the sand. The treasures are hidden in the sand. Tony Rabbi Yosef learns Sfaini is chilazon. Sfaini, that's the chilazon. That is the chilazon, and that was in Zvulun's portion. Tumoine zutri is tumoine. That is the fish called tuna, and choyel zuz chuchid levana. We had that Mashaba, that white sand is very precious, and it makes beautiful crystal glass. So you'll have all the panasa from all of these wonderful things. Me, my Danny, how do I know people aren't stealing from me? They'll just come, at night and take this chalazon. So therefore, it says in Pasig, it says that Sham Yizbechu, it says they'll go ahead and slaughter these kavanas. Simon zeh yehei lecha. This simon should be for you. This simon should be for you, and that is. Kol hanoitel mimcha below dam. If somebody steals from you, they don't pay. Just like a carbon, if you steal and you bring a carbon, it's worthless. So too, they steal the chalaz, it's worthless. Ain't no moil but a pratish. They try to sell it, it's not going to work. Klum at all. It's not going to work if they don't pay you at all. And actually goes further that the color, the dye will be the wrong color. It's just going to, it's not going to work, unravel, and the sand won't produce that special glass. Now, going back to our original question. These Agadat, the Kitton and Tzipoide are one and the same. Why was he complaining? Well, Tanya didn't have it. Tzipori and Milsa that different too. You go to Israel, Tzipori is a beautiful city. What's he complaining about? I'll tell you maybe what he's complaining about. It says that Israel is blessed. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. Now in Chumash, Rashi says milk and honey. Honey is the palm, date honey, and milk is from the goats. There's plenty of goat milk. However, Rashi here says that the goats would be eating the figs, not the dates, the figs. And out of the figs are so juicy, there'll be honey oozing out of their mouths. There'll be milk that'll be oozing out of their udders. And the two will mingle together, they will flow. And that's what it means, a land flowing with milk and honey. So maybe in Tzipori didn't have that blessing. There was no milk and honey. I myself saw that there was flowing milk and honey, and it was a large tract of land. It was 16 kilometers by 16 kilometers approximately. Will say he wasn't happy because maybe he didn't have as much milk and honey as his brethren, but it's not so. In fact, he had more than anybody else. Because Rabbi Bachana said, I saw Zovas Cholov Dvash, the whole out of Israel. I saw the entire Israel. I walked through entire Israel and I checked out the terrain and see where you have the land flowing milk and honey. And I saw I saw that the area that covered was this, like the distance from the place called Bekubi to the ports of Tulbanki. Which is how much? Esin v'tartin parsi, 22 parsi, which is 88 kilometers length. Urka will push it. The width is shisa parsi, 24. 24 by 88 and 16 by 16 is more than an eighth. In other words, they had more than their fair share. So what was his ruler complaining about? If it's Tzipori, answers the Gemara. He wanted to agribusiness. He wanted fields. He wanted vineyards. Taking out it says when Naphtali, when his complaint was Naphtali, got all these fields. That was his main complaint. This other city known as Ekron, it says okay, will eventually be uprooted. Which city is Ekron? So Kesari Bas Edom. That's Caesarea. That eventually will be uprooted. Sheyeshev ben Achila sits there between the sand. He hoys a yesed to call his. So this was like a yesed. This was a pivot that was fixed. The Meyavon in the ties of the Greeks, Ukshigovra Malchus Beis Chashmonai Noscham, and when finally the Chashmonai won them, they called it Achidas Migdal Shir. They called it that they conquered the Tower of Shir. Took away the money from their mouths. Took away this abominations between the teeth. They left also something for Hashem. What is that referring to? Base Bamia, all their idols. Took away the shkutzim by his gali. Also, there are the churches. The nisha gamhu lelakenu. And what did I leave for the Eibishter? Elu batik and the seas of batim midrash. We got rid of all the churches, but we left behind the shuls and the batim midrash. These are all visions that the Nabi will have. So it says in the pasuk that it will be like an officer in Yehuda, and the Ekram will be like Yevusi, will be like Yerushalayim. What are we referring to here? The feeders and the circuses. Eventually, the leaders of Yehuda will come and teach Torah there. What exactly is Tiatrois or Kakosais? Taisa says that some people say these are houses of worship, churches. And the word Tiatrois comes from the word shame, and the word Kakosais comes from the word Beisakise, a bathroom. Taisa disagrees because it says that they sat and learned there. How would they be able to learn that if it was a church? It actually means a convention hall where they say congregate together. So based on this, we have a very interesting argument. The Megilah Daf rules you're allowed to take a church and convert it to a shul, like many places do. But the Noida Yehuda says, no, you can't. Look at Tosfos. Tosfos refused to interpret Triatorais and Kakosais as houses of worship because he asked, so how can we find later on Tamid Chachamim were davening there, learning there? In other words, Tosfos clearly holds you cannot take a church and transform it into a shul. But many people do, so obviously we follow the Megilah Daf who says that you may and you can't. Saying the Gemara further, but it's all based on this little Gemara right here. Rabbi said, Leshem, another city that was captured by the people of Dan, is Pamayis. That's the origin of the water of the Yarden. Ekron to Okezu Kisodi Bas Edom. That is Caesarea Shehi Hoisim Metropolitan Malachim. That was the metropolis of kings. What do you mean? Caesarea was the place where kings. What happened? Ikidam, some say the Marba Bamalki. That's where they reigned and raised and trained the monarchs. And Ikidami the Mukmini Malka. That the monarchs came from that area. Kesodi with Shalayim. You have two parts of Israel. You have Caesarea, which represents Rome, and you have Shalayim. It cannot be that both of them should be like capital cities. They both were destroyed. Don't believe them. They both were inhabited. Don't believe them. Chorba Kesodi v'Yosh Shalayim. That Kesodi was destroyed and Shalayim was upstanding. Or Chorba Shalayim v'Yosh Kesodi. Talmud believe them. Remember, it says in the pasuk. It says the Amole Hacharov. It says in the pasuk that they filled, that was destroyed. Imaleyazu Charvazu. If one was upstanding and vibrant, the other one was destroyed. Imaleyazu, another one is vibrant, and Charvazu, this was demolished. You can't have the Eden and the Goyim both sharing the limelight at the same time. In fact, from the pasuk that we find by Yitzchak's bracha to Esau, La'im Mil'im Yemas. The one brother is strong, the other one will be weak. I'm going to be talking about Yitzchak, Yuchan, Russia. Let's be nice to the Russia. Baal Loma Tzedek, won't you learn how to be just? I know who my son Esau is. I know he's a Russia. But Yuchan Esau, let's be nice to him. Maybe he'll become a mensch. I'm like, Russia. Hashem says he's a Russia. Yitzchak said, Baal Loma Tzedek, you don't think he can learn how to be a mensch? He said to him that one day he will destroy Yerushalayim. Then said him, Cain, Baal Yerogez, we shouldn't see the pride of Hashem. Do not give in to the desires of a Russia. It's a moment topic that is noseband. You shouldn't take off Yerem Yisrael forevermore. What was Yaakov pleading to Hashem? But do not indulge Esav Harosha and give him his desires. Zimama, his nose ring out tofik, do not let go. What is that? The nose ring is sort of constraining him. Zu Germamia shel Edom, that is Germamia of Edom, a place called Germamia. Shel Mole hen yotzim machrivin kol hagol. They can have a chance. If they are unrestrained, they can destroy the whole world. Rabbi Yaakov Emden, who lived over 200 years ago, writes, that's a mistake in the Gemara. He's supposed to say Germani, Germany. And he says Germany is a dangerous country. And if they're given the opportunity, they'll destroy the whole world. Rabbi Yaakov Emden wrote this 200 years ago, and he said that's what the Gemara exactly was saying, 1,700 years ago. The Baal Shem Tov lived at the same time, said the same thing, that he sees no good coming out of Germany. Rabbi Chama Bachnina says that the 300 leaders in Germany, all the different fiefdoms. But in the Rome, the Western world, there was 365, one for each day of the year. And the ness is that every day, they all confront each other. They're so busy and distracted by fighting with each other all the time. They're always looking for new leaders that the Germany doesn't have the time to destroy the world. If a person says, famous saying that the Lubavitcher Rebbe made 12 sayings that people should memorize, and this is one of the sayings. If a person tells you, Gaiti, I worked very hard to learn Gemara or learn Torah, but I wasn't successful. I'll tell me, don't believe them. Obviously, I haven't worked hard enough. If a person says, Gaiti, I never struggled to understand the Torah, it's so easy, I understand everything, I'll tell me, don't believe them. It's impossible. Gaiti, if a person says, I worked hard, and I found Ta'amin, you believe it. The other Gemara says, this called about Torah. When it comes to business, you can work hard and say tomorrow, doesn't necessarily guarantee you'll be successful. You still need a bracha from Hashem, as Rashi says. But interesting, Rashi doesn't say the other way around. If a person says, I didn't struggle, but I was successful, because of Siyata Shema, doesn't say you believe him, because you don't. You still have to do your shtadlus, you still have to work, and Hashem will give you the bracha. Uledivre Torah then goes furthermore, even for Torah, only to understand. But to remember what you learned. That's from the Eibishter. Omri said, even Easter Rosh, if you see a Rosh if you see a Rosh that is doing fantastically well, that the Abish is shining on it right now, this God, but don't antagonize him. It says, do not antagonize bad people, especially if he's doing well. He'll be successful. It says, he'll be successful in all the time. If you take him to a dispute, he'll win. It says that he's higher than Mishpat, knows he'll win. He will see the downfall of his enemies, this Russia. It says, all his oppressors he will toss away. So it's not so when Mutal is Gadash B'Shemar Hazi, allowed to antagonize Hashem in this world. It says, those who forsake Torah will praise the Russia. But Shemrei Torah, those who observe Torah, Yizgarubam will antagonize them. No, but you're allowed to antagonize Rishayim even though things are going well for them. The Tanya Abdustoiba must know Mutal is God Rishayim Haza. You're allowed to antagonize Rishayim in this world. The Im Lechashech Odom Lem. Somebody whispers in the ear and says, "No, don't bother them. Don't antagonize bad people. And don't be envious or anger those who do terrible iniquities. Only somebody who's insecure. Somebody who feels they're not perfect and maybe they also deserve to be punished says that. You know what it means? Don't antagonize evil means don't try to follow their ways. Don't be jealous, don't follow them. It says, do not in any way envy those people who sin. So which one is it? So like Kasha, depends. Mundane matters, don't antagonize them. When it comes to mitzvahs, if you see they're not behaving, you have every right, not only a right, you have a mitzvah obligation to reprimand them or admonish them or remind them that they have to improve their ways. Ibai have another answer. They both talk about it in his own mundane matters, like Kasha. A tzaddik gomer, somebody is perfect, no worries. If you're imperfect, maybe don't antagonize them this moment. It says a pasuk, why would these traders look tachish and quiet? While this Rosh is swallowing up a tzaddik man, somebody more righteous than them. So what do we see clearly from here? Tzaddik mimenu b'leah. Only somebody a little bit more righteous than them. But the tzaddik gomer enu b'leah. But Rosh can never consume a complete tzaddik. That short time that the Rosh is doing fantastically well, avoid him. Keep away from him. Italia shel Yavim, Italy, the peninsula of Italy, which is sort of an aftergrowth of Europe. Krach Godel Sheremi, this is a large metropolis of Rome. It's a large tract of land, 300 parsa by 300. The Yej Bo Shasosh Woki, they're so wealthy they have 365 marketplaces, like the days of the year. The Cotton Shibik Kulam, the smallest marketplace, where they sell chickens. The Havashisha Osamila is 16 kilometers by 16 kilometers approximately. Umelech Soyed Bechol Yoim Be'echman, every day the king feasts in another marketplace. The Hadorbo, everybody lives there. Afa Pisha Ein Noilbo, even though they're not born there, Noitel Prasada, they get a stipend from the king. The Hanoilbo, if you were born there, Afa Pisha Ein Noilbo, even though they don't live there, Noitel Prasada, you also get a stipend from the king. The Shoishan Alofim Beiboni Yesh by that 3,000 bathhouses. Chomesh made Chaloin is my lotion that 500 homes where the chimney is higher than the walls surrounding the city, with very tall walls, though they had large buildings. Beyond the wall. One side is sheltered by the sea, but Haring mountains and hills, and metal partition. Sand and small pebbles. Rashi says here that Italy, Rashi Chumash says that when Shlomo HaMelech married the daughter of Paro, that's when Malach Gabriel came down and created this landmass called Italy. Just like you have all these islands now that the Chinese are building in Fiji and all these places, and they keep on adding sand. So Rashi delineates here that's exactly what Gabriel did. He brought sand and he kept on piling sand and eventually became Italy. But Rashi here says that happened even later than that, of Menashe. And geologically, the rocks there are much younger than everywhere else, because it happened when Menashe brought an idol into the base of Migdash. That's when the angel Gabriel came down and created Italy. Interesting. Mishnah. We have two others. Karus and Megilah Badarishan. If they happened to read Megillah, the first other, and then afterwards they decided to add another other. is when it's Abra Hashana, they decide to make a leap year. Koidin Oisab Other Sheni. You have to reread the Megillah. Ain Ben Other Rishon Other Sheni Ella. The only difference between the two others, the key is Megillah. The second other, you read the Megillah. Matanos Lavyanim. That's when you give presents to the Lavyanim. In other as well, we read the 4 Parshas, Shkolim and Zohar and we call Parsha Porah and Hachodesh. The Mishnah doesn't talk about that. So it sounds like that the first month is when you read these Parshas, and we'll come back to that. It says the Gemara, you say the Parshas every Shabbat. It sounds like when it comes to the Parshas, it's good enough. If you read the first month, you don't have to repeat it. So the Chayda Mani Mastis, and who's the author of our Mishnah? Late Tanakama will learn about the 3 opinions, and our Mishnah doesn't gel with any of them. It's not the Tanakama, not the first Tana, nor will it be Rabbi Eliezer Bar Rabbi Yosi, nor will it be Shimon Gamliel. What's going on? The Tana we learned. Let's say you read the Megillah, the first Adar, it was 2. Then this Abra Hashana, they decided to make a leap year. So then you reread it the second Adar, like our Mishnah says. But the difference is our Mishnah says you also do Matanas Lavyaini in the second Adar. He doesn't mention it. The Tana Kama doesn't mention it. All the mitzvahs you do the second Adar, you do the first Chutz and Mikra Megillah, that if you it's not good enough, you did the first, you have to repeat it. Rabbi Eliezer agrees. He said the first month is the main month. You don't have to repeat it. You call mitzvah in fact, when the 2 others, it's the first other that's the preeminent month. Rashbag, Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says the name of Rabbi Yosi. I agree with the Tanakama. You do reread it in the second month. So how does this differ from the Tanakama? We'll see in a minute. All of these mitzvahs belong in the second month and not in the first month. But the Shavin, one thing it is in common between the Purim cotton and of the first month and Purim of the second month, that the hesped of a tainis shasurim bezer. You're not allowed to fast, you're not allowed to eulogize in Purim cotton and in Purim gadol. Rav Shimon Gamliel has Tanakama. First, I want to ask, what's the difference of Shimon Gamliel and Tanakama? They both say you repeat Megillah. The difference is the 4 parshas. Say the parshas Ika Benayu, the 4 parshas. Tanakama Savala Chatchila B'Sheni the Avrishon of it. Tanakama says, true, you're supposed to do the second month, but if you did the first month, good enough, you have to repeat it. The only thing you repeat is Mikra Megillah. Bar Mikra Megillah, except Mikra Megillah, that's the only thing you repeat. The Afagav the Korban, even though you read the first month, you got to read the second month. Rabbi Eliezer, but Rabbi Yosi holds everything is done the first month. I feel Mikra Megillah, everything's done the first month. But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Savar, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds that Afilu say the parshas, the 4 parshas, even if it Korban B'Rishon, Korban B'Sheni, you have to repeat it in the second month. Says Gemara Mani. So who's the author of our Mishnah? If the Tanakama, you repeat the Megillah and that's it. What about Matanos Lavyanim? Kashim Matanos. Our Mishnah says Matanos Lavyanim. As well, you have to repeat. Totally wrong. Kashim Megillah. He said you repeat nothing. Rashbag, Kasha say the Parsha Mishnah says the only thing you repeat is Megillah Lavyanim, not the 4 parshas, and he holds you repeat all 4 parshas. Tanakama. Tanakama. The Tana Mikra Megillah Vuadim Lavyanim. She says really is a Tanakama. And the Tana of Mikra Megillah, our Mishnah, the Tanakama, he says you repeat the Megillah, automatically it also means you repeat Matanas Lavyanim. The Haba tell you. Remember, we learned a few days ago, Rabbi Yosef said, we don't read Megillah on Shabbos because the poor people are waiting for Matanas Lavyanim, because for them, Matanas Lavyanim and the Megillah are done at the same time. So the author of our Mishnah, Tanakama, and he holds you repeat the Megillah together with Matanas Lavyanim. Another answer is, Rashbag. It's Rashbag. We had a problem. What about the 4 parshas? Our Mishnah doesn't mention that you repeat that. A few words are missing. This is what the Mishnah should say. That the only thing you repeat is Megillah and Matanas Lavyanim. Holy Inyan Hesped with time when it comes to fasting, Zev both the same. The Ilu say the Parshas mighty. The Mishnah is not discussing, it's only talking about Purim, it's not talking about the 4 parshas of Adar. The halacha Shimon Gamliel that the main month is the second month. So we have an argument. According to Rabbi Yosi, the main month is the first month. And according to Shimon Gamliel, according to Rabbi Eliezer, but Rabbi Yosi, the main month is the first Adar, and according to Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Yosi, the main month is the second Adar. What's going on here? So it says in the Megillah, I want you to read the Megillah v'chol shana v'shana. I want you to read the Megillah every single year. Right? I want you to read the 14th day of the month, I want you to read this year, the 15th, B'chol Shana V'Shana, every single month. So Rabbi Elazar raises every what do you know about every year? So every year. My B'chol Shana every year, just like every year, Shvat Adar. Same thing here, Shvat Adar. Adar Hasamach L'Shvat. Afkan here too, Adar Hasamach L'Shvat. That's when you read the Megillah. Rashbag says, I also agree with you, B'chol Shana V'Shana, but I would say every year, B'chol Shana V'Shana, Ma B'chol Shana V'Shana, Adar Hasamach L'Nisim. We always read Adar followed by Nisim. Afkan Adar Hasamach L'Nisim, Adar followed by Nisim. Says Rabbi Bishlam, makes sense. The aim avin al mitzvahs. It makes sense. The first opportunity you have. Normally, we say aim avin al mitzvahs is that you have two mitzvahs. You have to decide which one to do first. So we say the one that's ready and imminent. Here we're saying even in the same mitzvah, Megillah. When should you read it? The second or the first? Even if you have a good reason to read the second, I want you to read in the first. Famous argument that if somebody's in prison and they say we'll set you free for one day. Which day should he choose? Should he go out straight away, or should he wait, let's say, to Yom Kippur, a much holier day? So there's a big argument there, what one should do. But when it comes to a single mitzvah, like, for example, Kiddush Levana. Kiddush Levana, you're supposed to, according to Ashkenaz, 4 days after the Meilad, you're supposed to do the Kiddush Levana. According to Sfardim, it's 7 days from the Meilad. The question is, let's say it's a Tuesday, do you wait till Motzei Shabbos, or do you do it Tuesday night? The advantage of Motzei Shabbos is everybody is spiritually on a higher level, and you dress, for the occasion, Shabbosdik. So what should one do? So the general custom is we wait till Motzei Shabbos, even though what happened to Ein Mavir and Ala Mitzvahs? But when it's the same mitzvah and it enhances the mitzvah, then perhaps you can wait. But he felt that waiting with Megillah for the second order is not really enhancing the mitzvah, and therefore we should do it the first one. And Rashbag might time it. What's a larger Rashbag? Why wait? Waiting for connecting the Geula of Purim to the Geula of Pesach makes more sense. And in fact, it seems that this is actually the argument. According to Rabbi Elazar but Rabbi Yossi, that if you wait another month, the mitzvah will be enhanced, it'll be closer to Pesach. You're right, but I don't hold that. I hold the first opportunity to do a mitzvah, Kiddush Levana, you do it straight away. Purim Megillah, you do it straight away. Shmuel says, no, since the mitzvah will be enhanced by waiting another month, let's wait. Kiddush Levana, we also wait till Motzei Shabbos. Says another reason is, I'll give another reason why he says wait till second order. It says, Esther Malka wrote a second letter. The first one was written by Mordechai, told everybody to observe, didn't really get accepted. Then Esther Malka wrote another letter. Together with Mordechai, and they wrote, everyone should keep, and she wrote Hasheni is the second letter. What means the second? So we darshan the second letter means the second month of, it's an allusion to the second month of Adar. So the question now is, why do we need Shana b'Shana and Shenis? So if you want to be Itzil Michtav, we need Hashenis, we need both. You need Hashenis and you need to write Choshana v'Shana to teach you the second Adar. I would have thought like the question you just asked. I would have thought that maybe you should do both months, both others. They said, no. Just like every year we only do one other, here you do only one other. But which other should you do? If we would just say B'chol Shana V'Shana, I would have thought maybe we should do it the first month other because it's closer. Every year we do it after Shvat. Therefore, we need Shenis to tell you, no, the second other. But if you only told the Shenis, I would have thought you do both others. So that's why it tells you no. But Rabbi Elazar Yossi, hi Hashenis my overlay. What does he do with the fact that it says in Megillah the second? What's it trying to tell you? In you need for what Rabbi Shmuel the son of Yehuda said. First they only established in Shushan. Later on the holy world, which is difficult to understand because you read the Megillah. It says clearly the first year all the Jews observed Purim, and the second year Esther and Mordechai wrote the letter to observe. So the Rashash has a theory which he has no basis anywhere, but this is a theory of his, that Achashverosh was the emperor of the whole world, 127 nations. Some of them he was not only the emperor but also the king. In some other countries there was a king, but he was the emperor above them. He argues that Haman Harasha only went to those kingdoms that Achashverosh was directly the ruler. He didn't want to get involved in those other kingdoms. What happens is one of the other kingdoms likes the Jews and they'll come and defend the Jews to Achashverosh. His whole plan will be foiled. So therefore, only part of the whole kingdom was involved. And therefore, the first year, only not just Shushan, but any country like Shushan that was directly under the dominion of Achashverosh celebrated. And the second letter was to involve all the Jews throughout the world, even though they weren't threatened by Haman as much as such, that they should also be involved in Purim. So those are the two stages according to his theory. Okay, have a good walk, everybody.